So, did you enjoy the after party yesterday evening?
Was there an after party yesterday?
I think so. Did you see him yesterday evening, ladies and gentlemen? Woo!
Who has a hangover, ladies and gentlemen? A little bit sweat in the front, but...
Es ist ja richtig lang gegangen und es war eine heiße Party, wie mir erzählt wurde. Was that your music we were listening to?
Yes, yeah. Yes? Well, I don't make the music, I only mix music because I'm not a producer. That would take too much time. But yes, music is very important. Like you said, the total experience that we want to bring. If I'm allowed to already explain.
Yes, sure, you are.
In the restaurants, we try to bring more than only the food, the drinks, and the service. I mean, people go to a restaurant to enjoy, to have a good moment, to have a happy time. And I think you should make everything in the surrounding suitable to have that experience. So also music is important. Of course, I'm a music lover. The DJing is started actually to take a little bit of my stress away after a heavy working week. It worked really well to be focused on something completely different than anything to do with the fine dining restaurant. And I was again, after 2 hours behind the DJ booth, again relaxed to have all the things with my 68 people staff in the team that I have. The restaurant is becoming very big, so it worked really well. So the Jane actually is an old chapel. You saw already a little bit in the video. We had the opportunity to buy a chapel, which is a unique building. I think this is a very important aspect of our restaurant. But of course, the concept that we do is also more than just the food. And the design, the art, the music that we play, the aromas that go through the restaurant. We don't want to bring something like a storytelling. We just want to have the whole surrounding making sense. So you enter, it's like a warm bath you enter. This is what we want to accomplish. So like I said, 220 covers every day. We do at the moment, so the fine dining restaurant is on the ground floor, 150 guests, so 70 for lunch, 80 for dinner. And we have a food bar, which I'm going to change the concept because I want to go a little bit a different direction, but I'm not going to tell too much about that. Which is hosting 70 people a day. 22 chefs, I got 3 people full-time on reservations, we got 6 dishwashers, a lot, I mean a big place. Before we had a fine dining restaurant which was smaller. Now that I'm used to having such a big operation, I think I really like that fact of being also manager of a lot of different levels and aspects. So that's the Jane. Like you said, multi-talent, I think it's a big word. It's a very big word to say. I don't see myself like multi-talented, but I do think that as an entrepreneur, I'm very motivated and I'm still very driven to explore and to discover. I'm doing a new office, which is in a new building. You will see in a little bit how it's looking. I'm going to have a private dining table there because the office is beautiful, and I think if you have the location and there's going to be a kitchen and then you want to do something with it, so a private dinner table is created. Next year I'm opening up a second restaurant in Antwerp, so I'm also already busy doing this. I have a beautiful rooftop garden which is being planned at the moment, so there is my office on the 4th floor with a walking bridge to the other building where my rooftop garden is with chickens and bees, and so everything is very happening at the moment. Like you said, DJing became sort of a professional career. I'm playing 2 times on Tomorrowland, which is the biggest festival in the world, both weekends. And I'm having gigs in Bangkok in July, so also that is taking serious
Do you have time?
I make time. I make
time,
yeah.
Okay. So you're both, because you said during your career you have been infected twice by the gastronomy virus and by the rock and roll virus.
No, I do both. I prefer my gastronomical career is the main focus, is what I do. But I think that because I experience also different environments, I mean the club scene is complete opposite like the fine dining. Like on a Saturday, 9 o'clock I start in the restaurant, then you do a lunch, you do a dinner, you're completely busy with the 2 Michelin star restaurant, then I drive to a DJ gig and you enter a complete different world. And this is for me really good to make my creativity, the feeling that I have, what I want to bring in the restaurant is getting fortified by having that experience also. I think it's really helping each other.
It's combining.
Yeah.
Yes, great. So now please show us the master plan of your revolutionary program.
I have a little imprint of a day in my life. We made something really pretty to give you a feeling about the restaurant also, which I first want to show, and then we're going to start about food, because it's not only DJing that we do. I'm going to show 5 nice dishes and explain a little bit of my philosophy and what we do. But first, a glimpse of my life. So that was
the combination.
That was the combination. That was like a Saturday in my life. I mean, going from street food in Chinatown, where I do my breakfast, where I get groceries, go to the supermarket, then going to the restaurant, actually do the lunch, do the dinner. You saw the plans on the drawing table of my new office, which is a very industrial building, which I'm also doing from scratch with the architect. The rooftop garden you saw, which is there. My new restaurant was not implemented yet because this is still a ruin, not really pretty to see. But that is how my life is looking. From family man in the morning with my wife, with my child, second baby coming up in 3 weeks. So also that is successful. I didn't need a lot of time for that, luckily. So, but the food. What I think about the food, because we're here also to speak about food, which is still a very, very big aspect in my life. My sous chef Sebastian is here to assist and actually to do a lot of work, because this is what my team is doing. They do a gigantic amount of work. I'm really happy and proud with my team, because without them, and I know every chef says that, but really it's like this. I could not do all those different things if my restaurant would be unstable. Food-wise, I travel a lot. I've traveled a lot. I've explored Asia, I've explored Japan, I've explored South America. I really traveled a lot, because I think when I travel, this is where my real ideas start to boil up. I'm flavoring different cuisines, tasting different cuisines. For me, it's very inspiring. And I think also that bringing all those components, which I find worldwide, into my menu is also very attractive for my guests. I notice that people like refined food, but having some spices, having some chilies, some spiciness, some freakiness, but not too extreme. I like to bring some exciting elements, but I don't want to go into serving live ants, or nothing to excuse for this, but I feel that the market with us, the Belgian market, is not really into this kind of thing. So I need to stay very close to fine dining with products and a very honest cuisine, but I can implement different flavors. So the 5 dishes that I'm going to cook is actually a combination of what I serve in my menu at the moment, and there's also a collection of flavors that I implement, which is, I think, worldwide. We're going to start now with a dish which is yellowtail hamachi. It's marinated, and a deep-sea shrimp, maybe in Japanese. The Japanese use this raw shrimp for sushi, which is a very sweet one. I think the yellowtail is also a very fatty fish, so that complements each other. The fatty fish, the deep-sea shrimp. And I marinate it with jang sauce. And jang is a sauce, it's a Korean fermented bean sauce. And the fermented bean sauce was actually Oriol from This Frutar, who explained me about the sauce. And it's a marination which is on the fish, which you can see. The hamachi is marinated, gives it a brownish color, like the soy sauce with the sashimi that you have. And it's really upgrading the flavor. There is an emulsion which I made from yellow tandoori spices, so which is actually a curry kind of thing. So this dish is actually created. Why? Because I wanted to do something with a ceviche, but not typical how the South Americans do, but more towards an Asian kind of an impression. We got some raw vegetables. I got some sliced fennel, which is just marinated in a very normal sweet and sour vinaigrette, because that is a base vinaigrette. I always marinate all my vegetables individually, because I think that the flavor should be really bursting out. Some radish. Sebastian is slicing some avocado, which is going to be marinated on there. I got 2 slices of pumpkin. some baby radishes. I already put an emulsion of avocado on top, which is also freshly marinated. Pickled shallots. So it's actually like a vegetable salad, combined with the raw fish and with the shrimps. Pickled shallot, and the shallot is pickled in dashi vinegar. And dashi vinegar is a vinegar that I use a lot. It's very high-level umami, which it has inside. I'm going to put the avocado on top. So in my restaurant, the 22 chefs, they marinate everything à la minute and fresh, which is very important because I think raw vegetables, the moment they are a few minutes marinated, they get soft and they don't have that crunchy bite anymore, which I think is really nice. I need the tray with the extra flowers on top. I'm going to have some fresh herbs. I'm also thinking in herb-wise to use the herbs that complement the dish. I think that herbs, which you see a lot, I mean, chefs do a lot of garnish, a lot of leaves and flowers and things like this. But I think it does need to make sense. It does need to do something with the flavor. It's not just a decoration, it's also a component which you need to add. I have some chilies, which are very finely sliced on ice water, so we call that chili curls, which is giving a little bit of spice, but for sure not too much, because if it's really like authentic spiciness, how I eat it worldwide, then the people would run out of my restaurant, I think, so I want to keep it a little bit on the safe zone. So in the herbs that we have, lemon basil, coriander, which is also very important in the dish, young coriander, young shoots. This is also something which is going to grow in my rooftop garden, so I'm going to try to farm as much of these products as possible. Of course, the climate in Belgium is not very, very good for these kind of things, so it's very short seasoned. I'm going to already turn the plate. So you see, this is a very freshly looking, colorful, very enthusiastic salad, which has a lot of warmth feeling, I think. The colors is giving a good impression of the temperature that I want to bring with it. The temperature, I don't mean the temperature, but I mean the climate that I used to have these kind of dishes in. I made an oil, the same as the emulsion of yellow tandoori curry. So it's a very flavorful curry oil. And like you see here, there we have this little ball of nitrogen, which is an icy pearl of calamansi. Calamansi is a citrus fruit. Our cuisine is very dominated by citrus, by freshness and acidity. So there will always be some fresh elements inside our dishes. The ceviche that I made, which is here. A traditional ceviche is just lime juice with raw fish. And because of the fish starts to cook, you get this egg white going inside. So you get a leche de tigre, they call it. So a whitish kind of a vinaigrette. I made a vinaigrette with the leaking liquid of yogurt. So the leaking liquid of yogurt, hung up. I don't know if hung up says anything to people in German, but the yogurt which is hung on a towel drains out the liquid from the yogurt. That has a very subtle acidity, which is a lactose acidity. It's something completely different than vinegar or lemon juice. It's a different type of acid. So I use that yogurt liquid actually to freshen up this ceviche. There is a little bit coconut inside. There is shallots, garlic, lemongrass, lemon leaves, chili, a lot of flavors, fresh lemon juice, and also the Korean fermented bean sauce. So also that sauce I used to marinate the fish, I also implemented in the bean sauce, or actually in the ceviche, sorry, which is bringing a high level of umami flavor in there. So the ceviche we do at the table, because my restaurant is large, is huge, and the waiters need to run like a very far distance. So sometimes I get complaints on TripAdvisor, it looks like you are putting on every dish a sauce at the table. It's not because we want to do that, it's because, you know, the dish gets shaken around, and I prefer when people Instagram, what people do nowadays, they Instagram, that it's also looking good. So the ceviche gets poured on the table, which goes nicely around the salad. Also a decent amount, because I mean a ceviche is a ceviche, it needs to be very, very present in the dish. And then at the table, we have these pearls, which go around. So that's the first dish that we serve. Very freshly.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Hamachi, deep sea shrimp, ceviche and buttermilk.
Gang.
You're going to put it on that table?
I put it on the other table.
Yeah.
Let me do it then if you.
Thank you.
If you have
Thank you for being my assistant.
I'm yours.
All right, up is the next dish. We're gonna do something which is then more towards a sort of a Belgian cuisine, I think. I'm using Belgian asparagus, which is now at the moment in season, which is a beautiful, beautiful product. When the cameraman is ready shooting that dish, he can take a look at my asparagus.
Ah, bitte. Take a look at the...
Thank you. So the asparagus are, here they are, sir. The white ones here. So the asparagus, they have been peeled, daily fresh. They have been seasoned with pepper and salt into a vacuum bag, some clarified butter, and fresh verbena, lemon verbena. Why? Because I want to perfume the asparagus, not too much, but that you have a light hint of the verbena, which is, for me, a very spring kind of a feeling. They've been cooked approximately 14 minutes on 90 degrees steaming, and with all the vegetables next to green vegetables, I prepare vacuum. It's a technique which Thomas Keller have been promoted very long, because you actually can infuse your vegetables. You don't lose flavor because of boiling it in water. If you boil vegetables in a pot with water, I think half of the flavor is already in your cooking pot and not in your vegetable anymore. So this is a really good technique to make sure that your vegetables stay very full of flavor. It's going to be combined with smoked eel. It's going to be combined with some fresh eel. The fresh eel, like you see here. The fresh eel has been filleted off the bone. Then we have glued the two fillets to each other with transglutamate. We have cooked it on 65 degrees for approximately 30 minutes. So it's completely soft. After that, we have colored the eel, like you can see here. So we have just sliced in the skin. We have just crispy colored it on both sides, which I'm going to do also together with the asparagus. So the asparagus we're going to color a little bit clarified butter. And then later on I'm also going to bake the eel inside. We got some fresh eel on one hand. We got some smoked eel on the other hand. Beautiful product. I think smoked eel is something that is very flavorful, and for me combines very well with the asparagus. This is a hot dish. This is the third or the fourth dish in my menu. So this is already going to the savory side. So nicely colored. Also gives an extra bite to it, and I also think that sometimes the bitterness that an asparagus sometimes has, white asparagus can be a little bit bitter, I think, which also people think is very annoying, also goes when you grill or actually cook your asparagus. So the flavor of the verbena is actually inside the asparagus, because by cooking them vacuum in a steamer, you really infuse, you really get all the flavors inside. So I'm very happy that Thomas Keller has been promoting that. And we all know it now. So it's been colored. Just going to drain it off. In that same asparagus, butter, eel goes in. So the eel is super soft, but also very full of flavor. Very delicate product. Squeeze of lemon juice. All right. Asparagus goes on. Very nice fatty asparagus. Then a nice piece of eel on the side. Then I've made a Hollandaise sauce, and the Hollandaise sauce is traditional Hollandaise sauce, but I've infused verbena oil, so a very green oil. I think I have the oil here. Very intense green oil of lemon verbena. And I actually, instead of only using clarified butter, I use half clarified butter, half of the verbena oil. So you whisk your mousseline traditionally, but then when you monte it, I replace often like half of the fat with another fat, so to give flavor in this. Some fresh verbena inside. Sebastian is making like a bread chip with an emulsion, a white cream emulsion of verbena, and some fresh spring herbs, not spring onions, but spring herbs. There is brioche toast, also here. The brioche toast has a salad of the asparagus, so actually the last bits of the asparagus, because the asparagus doesn't fit on my plate, so I have to trim it off a little bit. And I want to use it, because I don't want to throw it away. Little salad, nice brioche toast, so 2 crispy bits and pieces. I will put it on. Yeah, so we put it on the dish. Then we have this spring toast, there. Then I have an oil, and the oil is made of the bones of the smoked eel. So the smoked eel, we fill it, and the bones and the head that we use, we infuse also again this aroma oil, which is very smoky and very eel-wise, I think. Then the sauce that I have on this side, the sauce that I have is actually eel and green sauce, a very traditional Belgian dish, or actually the French also make it. It's like eel, fried eel in this green sauce with a lot of sorrel and a lot of lemon balm things inside. I don't know, it's a very classical dish that they serve in Belgium. So actually the traditional sauce I like to implement. So I infuse the sauce with all the fresh herbs. There is sorrel inside, tarragon inside, sage inside, lavas. Lavas is like, what is lavas in English? You know
lavas?
Magiekraut. Okay, I will Google that in a little bit, what is it in English. But the lavas is very there. Lovage, that's it. Lovage, I think. Very important. So the herbs are infused, so the sauce had all the flavor of the eel and green sauce, traditional classical sauce. Put a little bit of butter inside. We freshen it up with a good squeeze of lemon, because also the acidity with the fattiness of the eel is very important. So a good squeeze of lemon inside. And then I have this chlorophyll, which I made. Chlorophyll is actually all the herbs that I've just sieved out. I've pureed with water, steamed it in a vacuum bag, 70 degrees, approximately 11 minutes, and then you see that the chlorophyll is starting to split from your water. So the chlorophyll is actually the element in the leaves of green herbs which is making the green photosynthesis. The photosynthesis which is actually happening inside the leaves. So that green chlorophyll is actually, I'm taking out, I'm sieving that, and I'm using that, which is full of flavor of the original herbs. But if I would mix those herbs which have been infused, you get a brown sauce. It would not look very fresh. And with this kind of
extract the chlorophyll.
Yeah, so the chlorophyll is actually the fresh herbs, which you can also see that the sauce itself will burst with a full green flavor, which is again very important in springtime, I think. And we pour this sauce, so you can see this sauce is very, very green. We pour that in the restaurant at the table. I will put it now next to the dish, because if people want to make their Instagram photos again.
And you have the full flavor of the herbs.
Full flavor of the herbs, smokiness of the eel. Pincet. Then I got some more spring herbs. This is actually wild forest. Nettles. All the herbs that are now in springtime actually growing, I bring back in the dish. So actually this is the second dish, which is quite classical. Belgian asparagus.
Belgischer Spargel.
Spargel, yes. And actually in combination with eel in green sauce.
Ja. Mit Aal und grüner Soße.
Yes.
Mit hauseigenem Chlorophyll.
It sounds not really sexy, eel in green sauce, but the taste is amazing. Too bad the name is not so cool. All right, the next dish is a pigeon. Sorry, no, the first dish we're going to do is a lobster in dashi butter. Sorry, my first signature dish. Lobster dashi butter is the only dish that I'm serving in the restaurant which is coming back on the menu. I never use dishes that I've cooked a season before, so actually the dishes that I make are always new. I try to be very innovating as a chef. I'm 33, so I think that I'm not at my end position yet as a chef. I think I'm still starting, so I want to explore and I want to discover. And I think that if you trigger yourself by making new dishes, that you keep the whole motor running. All right, the lobster in dashi butter is the only dish that I bring back on the menu because the guest really said, like, Nick, this is So fantastic. You need to serve this always. It needs to be like a signature element on your menu. It's off now because I was so tired of it, but we have served it for 1.5 years. I have Oosterschelde lobster. Oosterschelde lobster is the Oosterschelde River, actually, where we're from. Is a seasonal product. It's a very nice lobster. This is shortly cooked. Depends on the size, 2-3 minutes approximately. I'm going to cover it with the sauce, which is the Dutchy butter. I will explain how I make it.
It's a
which we now
butter?
Dutchy butter, yes.
Dutchy
and I heard there is in Germany already some chefs who are also making Dutchy butter. So I'm very happy with this, to see that this is also taking back to other restaurants. It's nice. The Dutchy butter sauce is a traditional beurre blanc, but I replaced the alcohol actually with sake, with the Dutchy vinegar I just spoke about, which is a very full umami flavor of vinegar, and a vintage soy sauce. So the traditional beurre blanc, but then upgraded with a lot of Japanese influences. And that saltiness and that umami works really well with the creamy butter that I use. And actually, that's a very good combination. So the lobster tail, we're just going to lightly heat up because it's already completely cooked. I have some marinated beetroots. We have some cooked beetroots, which are being marinated at the moment. So we got the beetroots again, cooked in a vacuum bag. So the beetroots are vacuum packed. I added a little bit salt, vinegar, olive oil to get that flavor. Actually, the authentic marination that I want to add is already in the cooking process. So if you eat it, it's not pickled, but it's marinated inside the vacuum bag, which is, I think, very complementing to the vegetables. So the lobster now is just getting warm. It's cleaned out. The scissors of the lobster I'm using in my food bars, so actually the upper room bars concept that we have, it's very good to be able to share my products with. So I take the best parts and the other parts, they go to the food bar. So also here with the lobster claws that I prepare, they work with it in my food bar, and I'm able to use the tail because also the dish would be a little bit too heavy then. So the lobster tail in the butter, nicely poached. We got some caviar in this dish. This is the Royal Belgium caviar. I think it's imported by AK Collection here in Switzerland exclusively. I've been told, so also this caviar is available here in Switzerland. I think it's a very nice caviar. It's an Oschetra caviar, and it's a farmed one. And normally with farmed caviar, you have often that you feel this farming process, that you taste this kind of a soil flavor. Soil, I mean like a dirty kind of a flavor, like the fish has been fed with.
The earthy.
Not a good, sorry?
The earthy.
Yeah, the earthy flavor, not a good nutrition base. This one is a very nice caviar, very good caviar. I think it's the best which Belgium at this moment has to offer. So the lobster, just going to drain it a little bit. Super nicely poached. Combination between chewiness, which it still needs to have. I think a lobster needs to have a little bit of a bite to get all the flavors out while you eat it. Cannot be too soft, but again, it's a very delicate product. We have beetroots. We got yellow beets, also marinated. We got slices with freshly marinated raw beetroots, so also again to have a little bit crisp going on. This is a very classical dish actually. I think it's not innovative, not very modern, but I think really inspired on bringing something very delicate and luxurious, to bring in also that luxury feeling, which is I think important fine dining sometimes need to have. Good amount of caviar. I think everybody likes caviar, so you cannot be too low with the caviar, I think. If you serve caviar, in my opinion, it needs to be there. You cannot be too greedy with caviar. Very gentle on top of the lobster. I'm going to redo that again because it's not so nice. Fattiness of the caviar. This one is quite fatty. See, the alcohol of yesterday is also working still. So we got fresh herbs here, which we're gonna, again, put on a dish. Red sorrel. Nice acidic. Very popular at the moment, I think, sorrel. A lot of chefs like to work with sorrel. Also the red vein sorrel. And I got monk's beard, which is called barba di frata, which is a kind of a seagrass, which is very nice. All right. So that's the base presentation. Then I made a vinaigrette with beetroots. So the vinaigrette with beetroots, and I have an olive oil, and the olive oil I brought to my fish supplier to let it smoke. So the mackerel that they smoke, I give them olive oil, and the smoked mackerel process is actually giving the oil a very rich flavor. So the whole dish gets marinated with this smoked olive oil, which is giving it a very high level of smokiness. But only with the oil, not in the preparation, because then I would think it would be way too heavy. And I have this vinaigrette of beetroots with a little bit of that smoked oil on one hand. So that vinaigrette is there. And then the dashi butter sauce, again, we pour at the table, which is completely there covering the dish. So my first, and at the moment only, signature dish, lobster with beetroots, smoked olive oil, caviar, and dashi butter sauce.
Oh, that's signature dish.
Up next, because we need to keep going, I still have 13 minutes, so we need to hurry up. The next dish is pigeon, and the pigeon is called Pigeon Flavors from Dubai. I went to Dubai for the first time, maybe also the last time, because it costed me a lot of money.
A lot of money, yes. So the pigeon, you brought the pigeon from Dubai?
No, it flew. It flew from Dubai.
Okay.
Yeah. Came from Dubai. No, the pigeon actually is, because I really like to work with pigeon, I think it's a very delicate piece of a delicate bird, which I really, really like. There's also a lot of people who say it's called flying rat, so it's not everybody's big fan of a pigeon, but no. I prefer it very much because I like the taste. So the travel to Dubai is again something which is very inspiring. Sebastian, you can already start with the dish. It's been very inspiring in terms of flavor. In Dubai itself, I could not find a very authentic cuisine, so I've collected actually in one dish maybe 4 or 5 dishes which are traditionally from the Emirates. I'm going to serve a curry, a vegetable curry. I'm cooking at the moment, and not here on stage because here we cook with charcoal, but in my restaurant I don't cook with charcoal anymore. I only use fresh wood, because I've been reading an interview from David Pint, and David Pint said that the process of charcoal actually already kills all the aromas which wood fire needs to have. So actually the process is already, charcoal gets heated up inside a closed container, then they heat it up to 1000 degrees, then the wood changes to charcoal, but also the aromas that you want to have when you grill, they're gone by the process. So I was reading this article, and I think he was very right with it. It was very correct. Now I only use full oak wood, and we start the barbecue in the morning, and the amount of flavors, the amount of aromas hanging in our kitchen, and yes, by this process is gigantically. So I'm not cooking on charcoal anymore, I'm only using oak wood. I don't tell you do not use charcoal anymore, everybody needs to do what they want to do, but try the wood. I mean, the aromas from the beginning of the process to the last bits of charcoal that you have is very interesting. All right, the pigeon has been pickled in a salt solution. Then I actually steamed it. So the Chinese people, they steam their birds. So all the birds that they use, they steam, from duck to chicken to everything. And I never understand why their meat was so tender, and because of the pickling and afterwards steaming, so not just, I know on the carcass frying traditionally is very flavorful, but because you charcoal grill it, I think that the cooking process can be like that. So I've steamed it on 62 degrees, 50 minutes, so after the pickle in the salt solution, and you will see that the meat is still super red, super tender, completely cooked. But also you can maintain a lot of the flavor because of the steaming process, and after that you can really start perfuming your birds. So, the pigeon. I have a syrup because the Arabic flavors also tend a little bit to the spiciness, but also a little bit to the sweetness. There is maple syrup and there is aceto balsamico made with apple juice. And this is same consistency like honey. I lightly brush it on the grilled pigeon, so the skin gets a little bit of the sweetness that I want to give it. And then I have za'atar spice, and za'atar is actually a mixture of thyme, oregano, sesame, which is roasted, and this spice is a really, really good spice mix. Very aromatic for the Arabian cuisine, And I'm just going to completely cover the whole bird with these spices. So the sweetness of the glaze, actually the saltiness of the meat, and then the spices which I put on top is working really well. Just going to put this in the oven. The bird is cooked, but you also want to have that spice mix to be roasted, and that spice mix to really be attached on the skin of the bird. So just going to put it in there. In the meanwhile, Sebastian is making the dish. So we're going to have multiple things going at the table. We have baba ganoush, which is a very classical Arabian dish. We have hummus. I have an emulsion of smoked aubergines, eggplants on the dish. We have carrots, which have been pre-cooked in a pickle, again, vacuum, and then in a cumin glaze. So I made a glaze with a lot of cumin inside, because I think cumin is very pronounced for the Arabian cuisine. I have a gel of peppers and spice chilies. There is some marinated endives. On the side, we have Lebanese flatbread, which we bake off with a lot of ras al hanout and a little bit of sumac. Sumac is a dried berry which is very acidic. We have a gel of pomegranate on top. There is some fresh pomegranate on top. So all these flavors that come from the Arabian cuisine, but then I take from all these different dishes, I take those flavors. Then on the side, we have a curry, a vegetable curry, and all the vegetables have been charcoal roasted. So on my oak wood, in the morning when we start the preparation, we've put these vegetables to roast so they're packed with flavor. A little bit fresh mint coriander in there. There is a lot of mustard seed. There is a lot of spices. There is garlic. There is courgette, fennels, tomatoes. A lot of vegetables, just nicely as a vegetarian thing. Then I got mung dal, yellow lentils. Actually Indian, but I think that the combination with the lentils, also the starch that needs to be in the dish. Freshen it up with labneh. Labneh is like a Turkish yogurt, which I liked very much, especially with 40 degrees on your face. So the labneh was very fresh to cool me down a little bit. That's on there. A little bit of ras al hanout on top. A little bit of we got the green oil. In the meanwhile, the pigeon is here. So the dish itself get worked with young shoots of cumin seed, because the cumin seed is also in there with the spices, and the toast itself actually bringing a high crisp. Then the pigeon I'm serving to the restaurant. We carve it at the table. So the pigeon goes to the restaurant on a little bit of hay, which we also just burn down just before we bring it to the restaurant. And then in the restaurant, we carve the pigeon and we serve the dish. There is a sauce of pigeon which is reduced. Fresh ras al hanout in the sauce. Also to bring the pigeon, just a very classical pigeon sauce, I think. Ras al hanout at the end. And the sauce, I finish off with orange oil. So this is an oil made with the peel of oranges, which is very fresh and very fragrant. The moment you put the oil on the hot sauce and you stir it through, you directly have all that orange aroma going there. But I don't like orange too much in food because it's very strong and pronounced. But this oil on the sauce actually works beautiful. But you can also just try in a little bit. So the pigeon goes to the table. The churros that Sebastian has here is a churros made of chickpeas. I saw that churros was getting very popular again in the pastries in Paris. You saw churros going everywhere. So I wanted to do something with the churros. but then savory. I didn't want to make it sweet. So the churros is actually made with flour of chickpeas, which is again also then very present in the hummus and in the Arabian dish. So the chickpeas is also there, the vegetable curry, the pigeon that we have here on the hay. Not too much, else the house breaks down. And then a little bit of the meat sauce with the salad. So the pigeon gets carved at the table, and then we present the pigeon with the dish, flavors from Dubai. Vegetable curry with the yogurt lentils, chickpea, churros, and the pigeon. Pigeon flavors from Dubai.
Gang Nummer 4. Wow.
One more. We're still in time?
4 minutes and 14 seconds.
All right. So that was the savory part. I think, like how I said, to bring all those world flavors. Dubai, my last trip, something very traditional, Belgium. Japanese influences, Asian combined with South America, like a ceviche style, but then completely different. And now we're going to go back to Belgium with Belgium strawberries, because we're going to do something sweet also. I think that desserts are very important. And a lot of chefs nowadays in my kitchen more and more start to appreciate desserts, but I had always problems with people doing the pastry. I loved it. I mean, you can really work on presentation, you can really work on finesse, I think, but everybody was, oh, the pastry, you know, I want to be in the hot kitchen, and the tough guys never want to do the pastry. And so I tried to motivate to do the pastry, because I think I like it very much, and I think it's very important. Sometimes chefs do not pay enough attention, I think, to the sweet side, and I really would like to focus also on this. We start with a millefeuille, so a very nice pâte feuilletée. Just freshly baked off. I get the layers out of each other. The dish, the bowl, and as you can also see, all the dishes that I use are all really nice dishes. Yes. This is Cohut, it's a French designer. This, for example, is my designing partner from Tel Aviv, Yara Landau-Katz. She's doing a lot of great designs. I mean, I think it's very great. I love her work very much. She customizes my plates. I don't tell her what to make, because I think that a designer should design. I should not design, but you should find the right people who feel what you want to go, in which direction. I just tell her what kind of a vessel that I'm looking for, and then she starts the process. So it's a very nice connection to do it like this. We have this big machine here on stage, which is the Swan. I'm going to use that for my ice cream. So we have strawberries. Yes, we have 3 different kinds. Sorry, we have 5 different kinds of strawberry. We have peach strawberry, we got framboise, we got Garriguettes, Belgium strawberries, and pineapple strawberries. And these little ones are called banana strawberries. They all have different flavors. And I think that is very nice, because strawberries in a salad is always a difficult dish. I mean, strawberries, yes. It's not really, you know, the sexiness of strawberries. We want to upgrade a little bit. So there I am. We got the pâte feuilletée. I got a streutsel made of almonds. I got an emulsion of lemon, which is a traditional lemon cream. There is a little bit rhubarb in the dish also, because strawberries and rhubarb for me work very well. The rhubarb itself is pickled and also vacuum steamed, and then the color is very nice, pulled through the whole rhubarb vegetable. I'm going to do one more. All right. I made a gel of strawberries, and the gel is freshened up, so with a vinegar of strawberries. I found a really nice vinegar made with strawberries. A little bit of the gel. Then we have the herbs again, lemon balm. Citroenmelisse in Dutch, lemon balm in English. The German name
Zitronenmelisse.
Voila, there you are. That was not really difficult. Lemon balm. Tagette, fresh lemon flavor. So actually the base of the salad. I got raw slices of rhubarb. I think also that dessert should not be too sweet. So the rhubarb is very acidic. And also the raw acidic element in the dish gives a nice crunch, a nice taste, but also the right amount of freshness. Bronze fennel, because I also want it to be exciting in flavor, not just boring with strawberries and rhubarb, but also a little bit of a savory side with it. So bronze fennel. I made meringues. Meringues with anise flavor, so also the anise part in there again, which are very nice. Can you see it? You're sweating, eh?
A little bit, yeah.
Me also. But it's also the after party yesterday. All right, I made a sauce, jus sauce with almond milk, fresh dairy, buttermilk, almond milk, so fresh, sweet, and a lot of almond aroma, which goes nicely in the dish. Two different kinds of chips. Almond croustillant, so almond chip. Very crunchy. Then I made a cheesecake. So actually a crémeux, a mousse of cheesecake, but then cheesecake without the cake. Then you have cheese, so it's not nice to say cheese, but it's a mousse of cheesecake.
A mousse of cheesecake.
A nice chip on top. Yes. I have oil of tarragon, so also the anise flavor of tarragon. To keep all the flavors also in the same directions. I don't want to get too much flavors going on. So here you have the strawberries, rhubarb, lemon, freshness, and anise flavor. And then we have the ice cream. The ice cream has been frozen in a Paco jet pot. But it's already twisted. So the ice is twisted, it's soft. Then I froze it back in the shock freezer again. So actually this is rock solid frozen turned ice, which I put here on my new friend. You have more liquid nitrogen? Yep. Put this one just on top. You can make it full. Yeah. So the liquid nitrogen in the bottom. And then we're going to squeeze it down a little bit. And then you see on stage it doesn't work because it's so hot here, of course. Have a towel? Yeah. So normally that is because the temperature is so high here now it starts to melt, so it looks a little bit not like it should look. But we will get there. Then you get these really nice slices of ice, which are freezing down in the liquid nitrogen. So actually fresh turned ice. So this messy part around is normally not happening, but the temperature here makes it a little bit ugly. But that is the result that I want to have. So the slices inside. Quickly. I'm going to quickly wash up the table because I don't like it to look like this. These slices is actually the ice cream that I'm serving. So, like you see here, the combination of the ice cream together with that, the elements, it's a very nice
beautiful. It's like a flower.
Presentation. And again, how I said, like with pastry, you can really work on that presentation. All right, so that's my dessert, Belgian strawberries.
Belgische
and when the
Erdbeeren.
smoke is gone, you can see everything because it's a little bit covered now, but I'm happy it's not too warm that I still have my ice.
Yeah.
So Belgian strawberries, cheesecake, rhubarb, and anise flavor.
Thank you very much, Nick.
It looks a little bit clumsy like this,
so
but again, the temperature is... So the ice machine, normally, I always put in the freezer to make sure it's icy cold, and then it doesn't melt. Of course, here, the temperature.
You rocked
and the 45
house.
Minutes, that's...
Great. You did great. You rocked
Thank you
the
very
house.
much.
So we want to thank you.
Thank you for being here,
Yes.
and thank you for your attention.
Yes.
And thanks to Sebastian
yes,
also.
Please. So.
Did you like it? Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. It was a
Nothing
pleasure.
else to say. And I am scared, because if this is only for you, the beginning of your culinary journey,
Yep.
what can be the end? What are you aiming at? So,
Second restaurant first, and that is successful. I got a baby coming up in 3 weeks. I don't want to make too
this
much.
is the most...
First, a nice baby be there, and when the kid is healthy, and then I'm going to think about the next
Thank
challenge.
you so much.
I want to explain that what you see now is for 3 years I'm working on an own signature. Of course, my business partner Sergio Herman has a very strong culinary implement. I think he's very his culinary scene is very high level, and he has done an amazing job. I also think that it's good for me that I take my education with him, but I also create an own voice, an own style. So since 3 years since we opened the Jane, I start to work on an own signature style, and which is for me not only representative for Nick Bril, but I also think this is the business card that I want to show for the Jane Antwerp, because the restaurant itself is amazing, and I think this kind of colorful, flavorful cuisine is something that I want to bring forward. And I'm just beginning. So the first 3 years are here, and the next 10 will come. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Nick.